Hello, hello. Well, a while back, I asked you what you wanted to learn next, and the winner was content strategy. So, in this four-part series, I'm going to break down your content strategy all the way to getting to the right resources that you need and then establishing your publishing calendar. I'm Janet Bartoli from Expert SEO Masterclass and the Bartoli Consulting Group. I teach and consult on SEO management. So, let's get started in day one. Day one is today. So, what is content strategy? How do you build one? And then we also need to think about our goals and our KPIs. So, what is content strategy? How do you even build a content strategy? I'm sure this has crossed your mind numerous times. And so, one of the things we need to understand exactly, it gets tossed around about what the content strategy actually is. But you should have a strategy or a plan for everything you do when it comes to anything in digital marketing, but especially in SEO. You cannot just write haphazardly without any intention or thought about what it is you're trying to do. So, and by the way, you're just not alone in terms of really educating people on what is important when it comes to content. In this marketing charts survey back in 2017, although I would probably argue it's not that much different even today, a few years later. But when it comes to marketers' greatest educational needs surrounding content, number two was how to build a scalable content strategy. Number three was how to map the customer journey. Number one was how to use better technology. So if we look at all of these answers, you could see just a content strategy in general, it seems to trip a lot of people up. So a content strategy refers to the management of pretty much any tangible media that you create and own, whether it's written, visual, or downloadable. So whether we're talking about a blog, and yes, they still exist, and much to maybe some of what you might hear from those who are not necessarily expert in the field, blogs specifically do still work. They do still act as a real good lead generating activity. So do not neglect or negate the importance of having a blog for your site or your product or your services that you offer. People still are researching. People are still trying to become aware of what it is you have and what it is you offer. So why wouldn't you create content that is consumed by people who prefer to read? That doesn't mean that visual or video doesn't work. It absolutely does. In fact, more and more content today is being produced in the visual form, which is why YouTube is just skyrocketing in interest. Now, I won't get down into the weeds of the length of content, the length of video. It's the purpose is content itself. And when we talk about strategy, it is these pieces of content that we do need to make sure that we share with our audience. What is our audience looking for? How can we help them? They're looking for answers, and what format would that content exist? Whether it is a white paper that you would download or a checklist or something. All of that is content. So we know PDFs, straight content in a blog format, a video that might be embedded within a blog post, an infographic, which they still work. They're sort of old school, but they do still work. All of that is content, okay? Now, content strategy is the piece of your marketing plan that continuously demonstrates who you are and the expertise you bring to your industry. Now, when it comes to expertise, we hopefully will find writers who are specific subject matter experts on a particular topic. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't write about something that may be a hobby or an interest like gardening, because something like that wouldn't fall into the hands of the YMYL when it comes to Google's thinking about your money or your life sort of subject matter, which includes financial health, happiness, safety, anything where there could be potential harm or destruction or a negative from a health or financial perspective. Those people should be subject matter experts. For example, If you want to write about physical therapy, hopefully you have a physical therapy background so that the information you're providing is based on your professional experience. If you're writing, as I said, about gardening, that isn't something that's going to hurt anyone if you say that you enjoy gardening and you have a particular style of creating your raised beds for your tomato garden, for example. That's fine. That's not what we're talking about when it comes to YMYL, particularly that kind of content. But subject matter expertise is definitely something that Google has been able to pick up. I have noticed even in my content, it associates my name and my brand with SEO topics, probably because I've been talking about this for years, and my background sort of helps support that because there's other areas off-site that Google is picking this up. So you want to think about that strategy, which is the piece of your marketing plan that just continuously demonstrates that you are the expert. One of the things we have to do when we set up our content strategy is, of course, setting goals and KPIs. But first, before we get to those, there is just a few questions that I want you to think through and really kind of, as you're getting ready to plan this out, this is really what you should be thinking about. Number one, who are you developing this content for? Now, hopefully it is a targeted audience that you have in mind. This targeted audience could be your anybody that could be a direct potential customer of yours or a potential subscriber, maybe to your email list, who would eventually become a customer. This could be a group of people in a specific segment of population, maybe even regionally or global. Is it a global audience, or is specific to a nation or a region or geography in the world? So you have to really think through who am I writing this content for? Do not ever say that it's for everyone, because it should not be for everyone. Just like anything that you do in your content, whether it's your sales copy or your emails, there should be an intended audience for that content. So think through about who is this content specifically for? What is the purpose of the content? What do we want that content to do for that audience? Should we be providing that content for them and help them really understand the importance of the product or offering that we have? Is this content serving the purpose where if someone has done some research and they're asking a question, am I providing content to help answer that question? Again, at that point, I'm building trust and a relationship with that potential audience visitor so that they really feel that what it is I'm providing them is beneficial. Is the intent of that content to sell them on something? If so, there's going to be a different sort of style or way that the content will be created, or the different type of content that we would create based on I'm trying to get you to actually buy something. So we'll get into top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, but you have to think through strategically what it is, the purpose of your content. Writing content for just the heck of it doesn't make any sense, and it will most likely just languish and not really fulfill its purpose, especially as we're thinking through our potential or future goals and KPIs. And lastly, have you conducted a persona analysis? Now, this is something that you don't need to be real scientific about. It does not take 3 different teams and a separate consulting team to dream up this whole persona analysis. It could be something very basic and simple as this particular product or service that I offer, who would be my ideal customer? And even get down to what is their age, what is their occupation, how much experience do they have? If you're B2B, for example, it might be a chief technology officer. This could be maybe a male or female, and it could be someone who has an engineering background or any kind of a development background. So they're very technical in nature, the way that they're thinking. So you have to get that specific with who is it that you're trying to write this for? Who are those personas? I would not choose more than 2 or 3. So this is, generally speaking, a person within a particular age range, gender specific, maybe not, and also their interests. What is their educational background? What is their occupation like? If you're talking about a consumer, again, it could be college age people between 18 and 30 who have an interest in sports. So again, think through who that person is. Have a few of those people in mind, because when you're writing, you should be writing directly to that person, not to everyone. All right, now we've gone through those questions. Hopefully you've taken some time to really think through the answers to those questions. When it comes to setting your goals and KPIs, number 1, why are you developing this content? Again, define your goals. Are you trying to increase brand awareness? Are you developing an interest in, maybe it's a new product or service offering? And so therefore, now you're trying to get the word out about this new product or service. Are you trying to grow your list? Again, it depends on what content it is you need to develop. So then you have to think through, as you're defining your goals, what kind of content it is that I'm going to be developing, and specifically, what content do you need? And this will come through when we do our audit later on. But what kind of content do you need? Is it top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, or bottom of the funnel, or the tofu, mofu, and bofu is what I call them. And so this is as simple as it sounds, which is, when you think of a marketing funnel or a sales funnel, if someone has never heard of your brand or your service, they know they have a problem, they're going to be at the top of the funnel. They understand there's something that they're looking for. They just don't have a particular brand in mind. They haven't done any review searching. They're not done any maybe brand reviews maybe yet, but they know they have a problem, or they're looking for a solution. And so that's top of the funnel. And that's more informational kind of content. Middle of the funnel is, I may have a brand in mind. I may have an understanding as to what that product or that service is. And now maybe I'm looking for comparisons and reviews. And I'm really trying to develop a final decision in terms of, where do I want to go with my, ultimately, what brand do I want to work with? And so that's more middle of the funnel content. You're more exposing the product or service that you have and how it compares to others and the value that that customer could get. Bottom of the funnel is all about sales. It's all about, you've made your decision. You're interested in the brand and the product that it is that you've been researching and learning about. And it's all about, what is the offer? What is the price point? What are they going to get? So it's more specific about selling. And the majority of companies, especially the large clients that I've worked with, fall into the majority of my content is bottom of the funnel, because they are maybe a well-known brand. So by the time that you are looking for that particular brand, you already have a sense in terms of what this brand offers, what they provide, what they can provide, and likely you're going to be making that decision. That does not mean, however, they should avoid top of the funnel and middle of the funnel, because whether or not there are people familiar with the brand, they may not see they may want a different offering or a different style of product somewhere else. So you need to differentiate yourself, whether you're a well-known brand or you're not. And that's why you need to determine the kind of content that's going to fit in each of those. Over what period of time will you be developing this content? Well, it depends. Now, you planning on producing one piece of content every single week over the next 90 days? Or are you going to produce 1 or 2 pieces of content every 30 days? Is it going to be 15 pieces of content over 45 days? It really depends if you can figure out why you're developing the content, what kind of content you need. You may need 15 pieces in the top of the funnel, 20 pieces in the middle of the funnel and 3 pieces in the bottom of the funnel based on that content that you have that already exists. Now, what you want to really do is physically document your KPIs or your goals somewhere. This should not be a verbal, this is what we're going to be doing. This should be documented just as though you were documenting for any other campaign, whether it's paid search or paid social or SEO. You always should have this documented. Number one key performance indicator could be increased search visibility on a particular topic or subject matter. So you want to establish a baseline tracking of visitors, maybe to a specific blog post or different vlog topics. So that is an actual KPI. And what I really like is when you assign the SMART goals to it, where it's measurable. So number 2, where it's attract qualified targeted visitors to become subscribers. That could be an intended KPI or intended goal for this particular content strategy. And maybe I say, I'm going to give a range, and the increases in new subscribers are going to be between 1% and 3%. It's okay to provide a range, especially if you're just starting out, because you just don't know, because there is no history to really base yourself off in terms of what you've been able to get in the last 6, 12, 18 months or longer. However, if you do have a blog or if you do have content production that is older than a year, you should look at what the history through your analytics shows, and then you can base that off of, based on the content we produced over this period of time, we saw an increase of subscribers by X%, whatever that was. Maybe you take that number, that average number, and then say, we're going to attract qualified targeted visitors to become subscribers, and we're going to estimate that's going to be at X%, 15% greater. Maybe it's the same number. Maybe you're adding 1 or 2 percentages more than that baseline number, but you should base it off of something you do know. If you know nothing, go with a range. I would always go with a lower, more conservative range, especially if you're working with someone, an employer, or if you're consulting with a client. You want to set low expectations and just, exceed the expectation by just doing better and doing more. Number 3 is convert visitors into customers through mixed media, which could be another KPI that you could have. You can have 2 or 3 of them KPIs. It's not limited to 1 or 2. So converting visitors into new customers. And again, if you have some history, you can assume that based on all of the YouTube videos that we have in our channel, all the blog posts, any social media, whether it is IGTV or any other medium that you want to put in, again, averaging them all out to really see what is performing well and how are we going to be able to increase our customer base through those media forms. So these are how you're going to physically document your KPIs, and you form it into a goal. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing day 2, which is know your audience, conduct a content audit, and decide on the content types. So that's it for today. You got some homework. Go figure out what your KPIs and your goals are. Answer those questions, and I'll see you there.